Okay, sorry for the abrupt ending last time, the game crashed. So. Shale. Warrior specialization Shale. So what do you do? Armor class isn't all that high. Defense isn't all that high. The hit isn't all that high. Damage, I guess. Is that high? Yeah, damage is somewhat high. But nothing spectacular. So warrior talents and unique skills for him. Rock mastery. Oh, now I get it. Uh, okay, this is a range attack. Support mode. Imbues nearby party members with bonuses to attack, defense, and health regeneration. With other talents in the chain, Shale gains bonuses to armor and to resist hostile spells, and party members gain bonuses to most statistics. However, the aura paralyzes Shale and imposes a personal penalty to defense, as well as draining stamina. With renewed assault, nearby enemies suffer penalties to attack, defense. So we can basically sacrifice Shale in a fight to have him function as a beacon that buffs us and debuffs enemies. That's quite a heavy price to pay though, to sacrifice an entire party member to function as a booster. Okay, this draws aggro, stuns enemies, attracts the attention of a targeted enemy, so aggro management quite a lot. Explodes with energy, damaging all nearby enemies who are stunned or knocked back. After learning this talent, Shale gains a bonus to stamina regeneration whenever Stone Heart is active. The other bonuses of that mode increase and nearby enemies are even more likely to choose Shale as their target. So, very solid aggro, aggro generator of threat. I guess pulverizing blow, slam, quake, killing blow are the if you want to use him as a melee fighter. Yeah, it's offensive, attacker, tank, range user, and support. I have no idea which direction I want to develop this. Certainly not some kind of range combat user. The party buffer wouldn't be bad, but we also Alistair already does sort of the defensive thing, gathering aggro, so I don't think we need another one for that. We'll go through the offensive tree fully. Maybe. Yeah, I need to look at these with more detail some later date. Has no skills. Large chipped spirit crystal. Very bad armor, no weapon ability, but I think we have a few crystals. This is chipped. Flawed is better than chipped. And okay. Cold resistance or fire resistance. The armor values are the same. It's you choose the secondary ability. Do these change color? Yes. I'll keep the fire. Simply because that's what the enemy seem to be using most of the time. We want to have little variation, but I think all the chipped crystals you can sell, since we have better ones. Ooh. I guess it's the same here. Flawed is better, yeah. But you do want the variation. If something's immune to fire damage, we want to have a option. So small flawed fire crystal. Items bonus. Matching equipment providing an item bonus. Does it look like in practical terms? Yeah. Fire crystals. Okay, I think we're ready to go. Yeah. What are you going to do? Precise striking. Sacrifice attack speed for bonus attack as well as increased chance to score critical hits. I don't think so. Let's replace that with Pulver. No. Okay. You need to. Okay, we need the pulverizing blows active. Otherwise, we can't even use these abilities. I don't think you can.
Just order me.
Yeah, you can't choose multiple ones at the same time. So it's a mode of combat you choose. Slam. Slams his stony fist into an enemy target. If the blow connects, it generates an automatic critical hit and knocks the target back. Okay. Enemy health more than 50%. Use slam. We could use taunt too, but I don't think so. I'm not sure how much threat we want to generate with him. Maybe we do want to. The thing is, he has a few abilities that can take care of enemies when they come close, so it wouldn't be too bad. Okay, enemy cell. Surrounded by enemies, at least 2. No, 3 quick. So self any threat. What the hell is Rock Master? That's the range combat mode. I'm not going to try to threaten. It's what Alistair does. So we'll let things be how they are for now. And I think this is pretty much it for this DLC. Yeah, his limbs are sort of too. They're not solid enough. They're like rubbery, bit too rubbery and mobile. He doesn't like birds. That's pretty much what I took from that. I'm going to talk to the 3 companions I'm moving at the moment. I need to start talking to these people, otherwise I'll probably play through most of the game without ever talking to them. And they do add value, provide abilities, provide bonuses, you learn new things. There's a lot of value in doing that. Alistair, could you have a proper helmet? Ooh, we got. I forgot about this. I think we got a belt and a helm. Yeah, Cord of Shattered Dreams, restricted to mage. The helm's very good. It sort of looks cool. +2 to all attributes, +3 to armor. So holy shit. It might be good for Alistair because of the armor increase. Alistair is the guy who's sucking up a lot of threat. At least in theory. Yeah, that looks just fine. Can I increase your armor class in other ways? Not for now. Okay, do you even have the threaten? No. So we'll have to take that for Alistair. And he'll get a level up fairly soon. So he can keep the helm. Let's talk to him.
What do you need?
Okay, do you want to talk about Duncan?
You don't have to do that. I know you didn't know him as long as I did.
That doesn't mean I don't mourn his loss.
I should have handled it better. Duncan warned me right from the beginning that this could happen. Any of us could die in battle. I shouldn't have lost it, not when so much is riding on us, not with the Blight and everything. I'm sorry.
Yep, no harm done.
I'd like to have a proper funeral for him. Maybe once this is all done, if we're still alive. I don't think he had any family to speak of.
Yeah, a warrior's funeral. I think that's an excellent idea.
I think he came from High Ever, or so he said. Maybe I'll go up there sometime. See about putting up something in his honor. I don't know. Dwarves don't practice cremation, do they? How do your people honor your dead?
I have no idea. We entomb our dead within the stone beneath our thags.
I heard about that, now that I think about it. Their spirits return to the rock, strengthening the foundation of the Tig. It sounds so strange.
Yep. About as strange as burning your honored dead to ashes.
I suppose you're right. Thank you. Really, I mean it. It was good to talk about it, at least a little.
Yep, anytime. Alistair approves. Again, I'm not out to farm approval if that goes against what my character would do, but within that limit I'll definitely try to get the approval ratings go up. Otherwise it's not worthless to do it, but there's benefits to getting the approval rating high, so I'm not going to ignore that if it's reasonable to get it.
What do you need?
Questions.
Ask away.
Tell me about the Grey Wardens.
Such as they are.
Is there a headquarters somewhere?
Here in Ferelden, there's our compound in Denerim at the palace, but that's it. Loghain will have control over that and be watching it, no doubt. Beyond that, the only place I know of is Weishaupt Fortress. That's the headquarters of all Grey Wardens in the Anderfelds, 1,000 miles from here. But I've no idea how to even contact them. So unless we try to get back to the compound in Denerim, I suppose the answer is no. There's nowhere for us to go.
So, what happens now that there's just the two of us?
I imagine that eventually the Grey Wardens outside of Ferelden will wonder what's happened. Why there's no contact from Duncan or someone. They'll send someone eventually. Though who knows what Loghain's people in Denerim will tell them. Maybe they won't send anyone. We could try to contact them. But that would mean leaving Ferelden, and even if we did, they couldn't come back with us in time to stop the Blight. So that means whatever happens, it's up to us.
Okay, where are the nearest Grey Wardens from here?
That's a good question. There's plenty in Orlais, but who knows where they might be found. And the nearest Orlesian city is weeks away. If we go north and cross the sea, there's bound to be some in the Free Marches. Again, however, I just don't know where. I don't know anything about Grey Wardens in other lands.
Okay. I guess we need to start rebuilding the order.
I mean, eventually we would have to use the joining to make more Grey Wardens, right? But I don't know how to do the joining, or what's involved. I know it involves lyrium and some other magic, and that it's really difficult to prepare, but that's it. Unless we can find out more about the joining, I guess we better get used to the idea that there might only be two of us for now. Until more come from elsewhere.
Okay, what would be the consequences of if we just left? I don't... I'm not seriously entertaining the idea.
Just left? You mean just left Ferelden? I don't know. If there's an archdemon, however, we're supposed to be the only ones who can defeat it. And that means the Blight would grow unchecked. Eventually, other Grey Wardens in Orlais and other lands would hear about it, and they would come to fight it, but they wouldn't come in time to save Ferelden. There's no way. I'm not going anywhere. About the Grey Wardens, anyhow. Fair enough. What do you need?
Alistair might have increased his approval towards us because of that question.
What do you need? Ask away.
I'm exiting the conversation to simply see what the effect of the previous conversation had, if any. So how did you become a Grey Warden?
Same way you did. You drink some blood, you choke on it, and pass out. You haven't forgotten already, have you?
Yep. Yeah, before that. It's Alistair's nature to try to joke about everything. So I guess we'll have to just deal with the little jokes every now and then.
Let's see, I was in the Chantry before. I trained for many years to become a Templar, in fact. That's where I learned most of my skills.
What skills might those be?
Well, it wasn't an easy life, you know. I don't know whether or not you've noticed, but I'm not exactly the Chantry type. The Grand Cleric didn't want to let me go. Duncan was forced to conscript me, actually, and was she ever furious when he did. I thought she was going to have us both arrested. I was lucky.
Hmm. Why did the Grand Cleric want to keep you?
I wondered that myself. It's not as if she valued me highly. I think she just didn't want to give anything to the Grey Wardens, is all. The Chantry didn't lose much. And I think I can do more fighting the Blight anyhow, rather than sitting in a temple somewhere. I'll always be thankful to Duncan for recruiting me. If it hadn't been for him, you know, I wouldn't have.
He was a good man.
He was. A good man who didn't deserve his fate. That much I'm sure of. Come on, let's go. I think I'm done talking.
Yay, Alistair approves. At least we're getting some background on these guys.
What do you need? Ask away.
You said Arl Eamon raised you.
Oh, did I say that? I meant that dogs raised me. Giant slobbering dogs from the Anderfells. A whole pack of them, in fact.
Yeah, it's not what I remember you telling Flemeth.
Well, if you're going to go and pay attention to the facts, then fine. Let's see, how do I explain this? I'm a bastard. And before you make any smart comments, I mean the fatherless kind. My mother was a serving girl in Redcliffe Castle who died when I was very young. Arl Eamon wasn't my father, but he took me in anyhow and put a roof over my head. He was good to me, and he didn't have to be. I respect the man, and I don't blame him anymore for sending me off to the Chantry once I was old enough.
So who was your father then?
I know who I was told was my father. He died even before my mother did, anyhow. It isn't important. Arl Eamon eventually married a young woman from Orlais, which caused all sorts of problems between him and the king because it was so soon after the war. But he loved her. Anyhow, then you, Arlessa, resented the rumors which pegged me as his bastard. They weren't true, but of course they existed. The Arl didn't care, but she did. So off I was packed to the nearest monastery at age 10. Just as well. The Arlessa made sure the castle wasn't a home to me by that point. She despised me.
Mm. Ah, crap. You were probably luckier than most orphans.
I suppose you're right. I wasn't raised as the Arl's son, though, if you're picturing that. I slept in hay, out in the stables, not on silk sheets. I remember I had an amulet with Andraste's holy symbol on it. The only thing I had of my mother's. I was so furious at being sent away, I tore it off and threw it at the wall and it shattered. Stupid thing to do. The Arl came by the monastery a few times to see how I was, but I was stubborn. I hated it there, and blamed him for everything. And eventually, he just stopped coming.
Yeah, you were young. Things happen.
And raised by dogs. Or I may as well have been, the way I acted. But maybe all young bastards act like that. I don't know. All I know is that the Arl is a good man, and well loved by the people. He also was King Cailan's uncle, so he has a personal motivation to see Loghain pay for what he did. Anyway, that's really all there is to the story.
Yeah, codex updated. It's Alistair's codex, so just notes.
What do you need? Ask away.
Okay, why have you remained a Templar if you hate the Chantry?
Have you seen the uniform? It's not only stylish, but well made. I'm a sucker for good tailoring.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think I've seen you wearing it.
I keep it hidden under my pillow. Sometimes I'll take it out just so I can hug it fondly and remember the good old days. Brings a tear to the eyes, you know.
Mhm. And what's the real reason?
You don't really want to know about my being a Templar, do you? It's really quite boring.
You don't have to tell me then, I was curious.
Then let's just get back to what we were doing. No offense, but I'd really rather not discuss it.
What?
What do you need? Ask away.
Ah, I see. I should have pressed the issue. He tries to deflect things, but you have to say, I'm really curious about your background. Not sort of this. I guess the answer was took as dismissive, out of just asking out of slight curiosity instead of being really interested in knowing. So, what can a Templar do exactly?
Essentially, they're trained to fight. The Chantry would tell you that the Templars exist simply to defend. But don't let them fool you. They're an army. The other main purpose for a Templar is, of course, to hunt mages. To that end, we train in talents that drain mana and disrupt spells.
So Templars use magic themselves. No, I'll ask about... Have you hunted many mages?
No, I never actually became a full Templar. Duncan recruited me before I took my vows. I was only present during one harrowing. The ritual that they test the mages with. It's not unlike our joining, really. And just as deadly. The girl they tested, she had a demon put inside her to see if she could resist. And she couldn't. We had to end it quickly. I have to say I didn't have much interest in becoming a Templar after that.
Do Templars use magic themselves?
You could call it that, sure. The Chantry doesn't look on it the same way, however, since really our talents only work on mages. Against a regular person, I'm just a guy in a metal suit.
Okay, seems like the Templars could run the Chantry. I'm not sure what this option is going for.
You'd think that, but it's not so. The Chantry keeps a close rein on its Templars. We are given lyrium to help develop our magical talents, you see. Which means we become addicted. And since the Chantry controls the lyrium trade with the dwarves, well, I'm sure you can put two and two together.
Ugh. Yeah. I can't believe they would do that.
Well, they do it, and they feel perfectly justified. You don't need lyrium in order to learn the Templar talents. Lyrium just makes Templars' talents more effective. Or so I was told. Maybe it doesn't even do that. The Chantry usually doesn't let their Templars get away, either, so they can spread their secrets. I'm a bit of an exception. Lucky me. What do you need?
I think we're done with Alistair pretty much for the moment.
Ask away.
Can you teach others to be a Templar?
I suppose I could. But I really would rather not. When the Grand Cleric let Duncan recruit me, She made me swear never to reveal Templar secrets outside of the Chantry. I'd rather not go back on my word.
Yeah, I think we're better respect that at least until our approval rating with Alistair is much higher. So I'll respect your word.
Ask me later, perhaps. Maybe I'll change my mind. This is not something small you're asking, after all. What do you need?
Just making sure
Ask away.
there's nothing new.
Such as they are. About the Grey Wardens, anyhow. Fair enough. What do you need?
Nothing. So Alistair is done, and our approval increased a little bit. Nothing really. Novice Dreamer rule. Diana,
Yes?
I think you should go. What? I'd like to talk.
Well, here I am.
Okay, this vision of yours.
I knew this would come up sooner or later. I don't know how to explain, but I had a dream. In it, there was an impenetrable darkness. It was so dense, so real. And there was a noise, a terrible, ungodly noise. I stood on a peak and watched as the darkness consumed everything. And when the storm swallowed the last of the sun's light, I fell. And the darkness drew me in.
What then?
When I woke, I went to the Chantry's gardens, as I always do. But that day, the rosebush in the corner had flowered. Everyone knew that bush was dead. It was grey and twisted and gnarled, the ugliest thing you ever saw. But there it was, a single beautiful rose. It was as though the Maker stretched out his hand to say, even in the midst of this darkness, there is hope and beauty. Have faith.
And this made you want to help me?
In my dream, I fell, or maybe I jumped. I'd do anything to stop the Blight. I know that we can do it. There are so many good things in the Maker's world. How can I sit by while the Blight devours everything?
I suppose I couldn't sit by either.
That is why you're a Grey Warden. Come, there's a Blight to stop.
Yeah, Liliana approves.
Yes? Well, here I am.
What was life like in the Chantry cloister?
Quiet. It was a life suited for contemplation. In the cloister, away from the fuss and the flurry of the cities, I found peace. And in that stillness, I could hear the Maker. But it was not perfect. Some of my Chantry fellows were condescending. That is the nature of religious folk, I suppose.
Condescending how?
When I talked about my beliefs, that the Maker reveals himself in the beauty of his world, they treated me with disdain. They want to believe that he's gone, so that when he turns his gaze on them, it means they are special, chosen. He cannot possibly have love for all, the sick and the weary, the beggars and the fools.
I prefer your ideas of the Chantry.
Thank you. Maybe I am wrong. But it is the Maker's place to decide if I am worthy, not men, not the Chantry. But there is work to be done, and I have talked enough for now. Yes? Well, here I am.
What would someone like you be doing in Lothering's Chantry?
What is meant by someone like me?
Uh, okay, this might be an important choice. You just don't seem to belong. A very neutral one. You know, a beautiful, charming woman like yourself, so sort of trying to express interest toward her, or sanctimonious, preachy like all other chantry zealots. You don't belong, but you're exactly like everyone there. Or they don't teach you how to fight in a cloister, do they? So at least couple fairly neutral ones express interest towards her, romantic interest and being offensive. I'm choosing the race romantic interest towards her. So a beautiful, charming woman like yourself.
And there were no beautiful, charming women in the cloisters, you think? You would be wrong. There were many lovely young initiates in the Lothering cloister, all of them chaste and virtuous. It added to their mystique, because then they were forbidden, and forbidden fruit is the sweeter, no?
Hmm. What about your fruit? Is it forbidden? That's what they say. Back to the question. Uh, um, okay, I want to ask that just for the sake of seeing what the reaction is. So, what about your fruit? Is it forbidden?
My fruit? Well, it is not technically forbidden, but it's not freely given either. Not everyone gets a bite. I can't believe I'm having this conversation. But no, I did not take vows. The Chantry provides succor and safe harbor to all who seek it. I chose to stay and become affirmed.
Okay, what does becoming affirmed mean?
We affirm our belief in the Maker, in Andraste and the chant, but other than that, there are no vows taken.
Hmm. Okay, why were you seeking a safe harbor?
The Chantry does not pride, and you should. I desired time apart from the world. I was a traveling minstrel in Orlais. Tales and songs were my life. I performed, and they rewarded me with applause and coin. And my skill in battle? Well, you pick up different skills when you travel, yes? Yes, of course. Let's move on.
Yep. I don't exactly believe her. It's made very obvious that she's at least hiding something. I suppose you can justify the fruit question with me being sort of not very tactful.
Yes? Something you need? Yes? What's on your mind?
Why did you decide to come to Ferelden?
My mother was from Denerim, and I consider myself a Ferelden. Mother served an Orlesian noblewoman who lived here when Orlais ruled. When Orlais was defeated and the common folk began to resent the presence of any Orlesian, the lady returned to Orlais. She took my mother with her. I was born in Orlais and did not set foot in Ferelden till much later. Mother was always telling me stories of her homeland. I think she missed it.
Was she not happy in Orlais?
She wasn't unhappy. We had a good life, and she liked Orlais well enough. I loved it, though. Val Royeaux was so vibrant, colorful. Mother died when I was very young. Lady Cecily let me stay with her. I had no one else. She was quite old then, and she had me study music and dance to entertain her. It is unfair that I have more memories of Cecily than my mother.
Do you remember nothing of your mother?
Strangely, the only thing I really remember of Mother was her scent. She kept dried flowers in her closet amongst her clothes. Small white Ferelden wildflowers with a sweet fragrance. Mother called them Andrastis Grace. They were very rare in Orlais. But enough about that. Let us move on.
Yeah, at least we have a few gift ideas here and there. Alistair is looking for an amulet. That's probably very important to him. Anything that reminds Liliana of her mother.
Yes? Something you need? Yes? What's on your mind?
Mm. Do you miss anything about Orlais?
I miss Val Royeaux. Unlike other cities where the people are the lifeblood and the character, Val Royeaux was her own person, and her people little more than decorations. There was always music in Val Royeaux, streaming from the many windows, quiet refrains and triumphant choruses, and always, floating above that all, the chant, coming from the Grand Cathedral. It was magnificent.
It sounds wonderful. Yeah, we'll just, in general, try to go with the flow unless it's very uncharacteristic, characteristic for us. Jesus Christ. Yeah, it sounds wonderful.
Oh, it would take me a day or two to talk about the many splendors of Orlais, her golden fields, her lush meadows. Of course there are good things and bad things about Orlais, like anywhere else. Sometimes I miss it dearly, and sometimes I'm glad I'm rid of it. And you will laugh at this, but I miss the fine things I had in Orlais.
What sort of things?
Dresses, fine dresses and furs, and shoes, of course. One can't mingle with nobility with bad shoes, you see. Orlais is very fashionable, almost ridiculously so. But the shoes! Living with those ridiculous trends was worth it for the shoes.
Yeah, maybe, oh, I love shoes is not the response here. What's so special about shoes?
Well, they're shoes. They're pretty. Some of them anyway. When I left Orlais, the fashion was shoes with delicate tapered heels and embellishments in the front. A ribbon, perhaps, or embroidery. In soft colors, of course. It was spring.
Yeah, I don't want to complain about the cost of such items. I don't want to... Maybe I should complain about the utility of such shoes. Yeah, you've lost me. Perhaps not. Oh, that sounds so lovely. I think that's a bit too much for me. Maybe I should... yeah, I think the third option is the best, or most fitting for us. Wouldn't that be hard to walk in?
I wouldn't want to run in it, or have to enter battle, but for lounging in a lady's sitting room? Perfect. The shoes made in Orlais were exquisite. Not at all like these clunky fur-lined leather boots you have in Ferelden. Ugh, just look at them.
I know, right? Yeah, they're comfortable. At least they keep the cold out. Yeah, I'll try to compliment her again. You don't need fancy shoes to make you beautiful.
Thank you. It's kind of you to say so, even wearing these mud-covered horrors. They're sturdy shoes, but sometimes a girl just wants to have pretty feet. Oh, I could talk about shoes all day, but we have things to do, don't we? Yes? Something you need? Yes? What's on your mind?
You were a traveling minstrel. Do you have tales to share? No. No, I heard that in Orlais, minstrels are often spies.
Where did you hear this?
Someone told me this a long time ago.
And you believe everything you hear? Not all minstrels are spies. Most are just singers and storytellers. But some of them are what we call bards.
What's the difference?
Many use the two words minstrel and bard interchangeably, but to do so in Orlais would cause misunderstanding. Bards are minstrels and more. Spies, as you say. Some say there is a bard order, but I don't think this is true. Many bards work alone or in small groups, doing the bidding of a patron who pays for their services. If there is an organization behind it all, no one knows who they are.
What sort of services does a bard offer?
What do you think? They infiltrate, steal, sometimes assassinate? It depends on the bard. In Orlais, there is much rivalry amongst the highborn. They fight over land, influence, and the favor of the Empress. But they cannot do this openly because it is impolite, and in public, they wear smiling faces and pretend to be civil. In secret, they plot and scheme to destroy each other. It is a game completely meaningless to anyone but its players.
So, considering our background, our origin story, I think we can sympathize with that. Sounds very familiar. Why are you sent here to spy on me? Why would anyone bother? I knew it. You're not just some innocent sister. Okay. You seem to know quite a bit about these bards.
And I shouldn't I, after having spent most of my adult life as one? You've guessed as much, I'm sure. But does it really matter what I was? What's past is past.
But why were you living cloistered, sister, in rural Ferelden?
I found myself in Ferelden and sheltered from bad weather in the Chantry. And when the storm passed, I just did not want to leave. I like to say the Maker brought me here.
So, she has a troubled past. Probably it's going to come bite her in the ass. Alistair, I don't know. Maybe. But he's not exactly in any trouble.
Yes? Something you need?
Can you teach me to be a bard?
I don't think you have the correct aptitude. I could give you some pointers, though. You may be able to pass them on to someone you know. Let's just go over there, away from the others. For safety, yes? I expect there shall be daggers flying about willy-nilly for a time.
Yeah, specialization unlocked bard. And this is why you want to talk to these. It's unlocked for the account, so if I start a rogue character, I could specialize it immediately to bard when the chance comes.
Yes? Something you need? Yes? What's on your mind?
Stories.
Of course I do. I love stories far too much to keep them to myself. Everyone should be able to benefit from them, I think.
Tell me about Darkspawn.
Chantry lore says it is man's pride that created the Darkspawn. In ages past, the mages of the Tevinder Imperium ruled much of the world we know. In their pride, they thought their magics invincible and imagined that they were greater than the Maker himself. So thinking, they invaded his golden city, planning to take it for themselves and depose their own creator. But they were impure and full of sin. And it is with the sin that they tainted the golden city, corrupting it forever. The Maker cursed them and cast them from his sight. Wherever they went, they spread the taint of their sin. Any land that was touched by the taint became blighted and would suffer no life. Instead, the Darkspawn arose to torment us and remind us of our hubris.
Any stories from Orlais?
Of course, Orlesians enjoy telling stories. I shall tell you my favorite tale of Aveline, the Knight of Orlais.
Sounds interesting.
A long time ago, a girl child was born to a farmer. He had hoped for a son, not a daughter, and so he told his wife to abandon the child in the woods. Before the cold could claim her, the baby was found by a tribe of Dalish elves who took pity on the poor mewling thing and raised her as their own. Aveline, for that is what they called her, grew strong and quick and clever under the guidance of the elves. She learned to wield the sword as well as any man, could kill a deer with an arrow at 100 paces, and was as graceful on the back of a horse as she was on foot. Aveline's Dalish guardians saw that she could easily best any Orlesian chevalier in battle, and wanted to show the cruel humans the child they had left to die. They bestowed upon her a fine horse and armor, and sent her to prove herself to her people in the Grand Tourney. Now in those days, no woman was allowed to take up arms, let alone compete in the Grand Tourney, but Aveline kept her helmet on and was not discovered.
Did she win?
Aveline won many events and gained the approval of the adoring crowd. Eventually, she came face to face with the knight Kaleva in the Grand Melee. Aveline had already bested him in the jousts, and Kaleva was determined not to lose a second time. Out of desperation to regain his honor, Kaleva tripped Aveline and tossed her to the ground, ripping off her helmet as he did so. Silence fell upon the arena as Aveline was revealed. Kaleva declared the previous competitions invalid. A woman had taken part, and this was not allowed. But the crowd cheered for Aveline. Kaleva was furious, for he had lost to a woman and was now being shamed. Blinded by his rage, he forced Aveline to her knees. "Know your place, woman," cried he, and slit her throat.
Oh. That is terrible.
The son of the king, Prince Freyan, was present. He recognized Aveline's skill and bravery and began to see the injustice done to the women in his land. When he was made king, he rewrote the laws of Orlais so that women could also become chevalier. He honored Aveline and knighted her after her death. And to this day, any female who is knighted reveres Aveline the Brave, for she is the patron of all women chevalier.
Chevalier. Okay. Any Ferelden legends?
I know one, told to me by my mother a long time ago. It always chilled me to the bone. Maybe you have heard of Flemeth?
Yeah, Morgan's mother was called Flemeth.
Are you sure? Was she the Flemeth of legend? Flemeth, the devourer of men? Flemeth, mother of witches? Flemeth, demon-touched, who dwells in the mists?
She didn't really introduce her as such. Well, let's say she looked like your average old woman.
Well, if Flemeth really exists, she would be very, very old indeed. Ferelden mothers scare their daughters with talk of Flemeth. They say that if you're bad, Flemeth will spirit you away and bind you to her forever. They also say that Flemeth mourns her lost beauty and will steal yours through your looking glass if she catches you.
Tell me the whole story.
Flemeth's beauty was known throughout the land. She had hair like unto a moonless night, skin as pale as winter's first snow, and eyes as beautiful and perilous as the sea. When she came of age, she came to the attention of the Lord of Highever, Conobar, and he took her for his wife. Conobar soon learned that his young bride had the gift of magic. He kept this a secret, for he feared that she would be taken from him. Flemeth stayed with Conobar for some years, and with his blessing, she practiced her art. And then one day, a young poet named Osen came to the castle. Flemeth was captivated by Osen's voice, and he by her beauty, and they fell in love.
Ooh, the plot thickens.
Flemeth longed to be with her true love, and she and Osen fled from Conobar's lands, seeking refuge in the Kokari wilds with the Chasing tribes. They lived there happily for many a year, till the day Flemeth received news that Conobar was dying and longed to see her face one last time. Flemeth's heart swelled with pity for the man who once was her husband, and begged Osen to return to Conobar's side with her. But when Flemeth and Osen entered Highever, they were captured by Conobar's men, and Osen was slain in front of Flemeth's eyes. Flemeth was imprisoned in the highest tower of the castle, there to await Conobar's judgment on her. Distraught at the loss of her love, Flemeth plotted revenge against her husband. She summoned a fey demon, intending for it to wreak vengeance on Conobar. But a spell went awry. The demon possessed Flemeth. Turning her into an abomination, the halls of the castle ran red with blood as Flemeth slaughtered Conobar and all his men. The last of Flemeth's humanity melted away, and at dawn, she stole back to the wilds to plot and scheme for 100 years. They say she took to her side many Chasing men, and with their help, begat her daughter witches, who even now prowl the dark places of the Kokari wilds.
Okay, any more stories?
Which one?
Do you know anything about the Dalish?
I have heard a little about how the elves gained their freedom from the Tevinter Imperium. When Andraste began her exalted march against the Imperium, the elves joined her cause to fight their masters. The great elven leader, Shatan, born in captivity, rose up to lead his people. He foresaw a future where the elves were free. Shatan was killed when Andraste was betrayed, but the elves continued to fight, eventually breaking free of the Imperium. The elves claimed the Dales in the south and settled there in a land of their own.
Didn't last.
The elves lived in the Dales for centuries. They resurrected the worship of the elven gods and would allow the building of no chantry. This angered the chantry, and the hostility between the two factions finally broke out in open war. The chantry says the elves struck first, but I do not know whether to believe it. The chantry declared a holy exalted march against the elves, named for Andraste's similar march against Tevinter. During the exalted march of the Dales, the elven cities were sacked, and the elven state completely dissolved. Some of the elves bitterly accepted their fates and surrendered to human rule, living in the human cities as second-class citizens. But others, still fiercely proud of their heritage, refused to bow to the humans, and instead became homeless wanderers. They were the elves of the Dales, the Dalish.
Any stories about Andraste?
Andraste was the Maker's chosen. The Maker had long since abandoned the world when the sound of her singing turned his ear. Beauty, grace, and wisdom enraptured him, and he offered to take her from this flawed world to become his divine bride. But Andraste had an earthly husband and would not forsake him. Instead, she beseeched the Maker to return to his people once more. So earnest was her plea that the Maker was moved, and promised that he would create a paradise on earth if all abandoned their false gods and turned once more to him. And this is why Andraste began her exalted march on the idolaters of the Tevinter Imperium. The Maker granted her his powers with which to smite her enemies. Andraste brought the Imperium to its knees, and her victories converted many to the worship of the Maker.
Tell me about Shatan again.
When Andraste began her exalted march against the Imperium, The elves joined her cause to fight their masters. The great elven leader, Shatan, born in captivity, rose up to lead his people. He foresaw a future where the elves were free. Shatan was killed when Andraste was betrayed, but the elves continued to fight, eventually breaking free of the Imperium. The elves claimed the Dales in the south and settled there in the land of their own.
Yeah.
But others, still fiercely proud of their heritage, refused to bow to the
How
humans.
did Andraste
and instead,
die?
Alas, it was the frailties of men that betrayed and killed Andraste. Her earthly husband, Maferath, a chieftain of the Alamari tribes himself, grew jealous as his wife's popularity and influence overshadowed his own. She was also revered as the Maker's betrothed, and Maferath began to see their own bond waning in significance as Andraste became ever more devoted to the Maker. Out of envy and spite, Maferath made a pact with the Archon Hysarian of Tevinter, allowing his beloved Andraste to be ambushed and captured. Andraste was burned at the stake in Minrathous, the capital of Tevinter.
But the winter has a chantry, doesn't it?
The Tevinter Chantry claims that in Andraste's last moments, Hysarian's heart softened, and he heard the voice of the Maker telling him to end her suffering. He plunged his sword into her heart, and as her blood washed over his hands, he became one of the faithful. Dissenters said that the Archon only converted because he could not stem the tide of Andraste's cult, and was forced to do so to stay in power. We will never know for sure.
Okay. I think that's all from Leliana. Her influence has been increased quite a lot. She had a lot of conversations. Yeah, it's 26. Interested. Okay, I think we got some kind of a cunning bonus out of that. How do you see it? I mean, she got the bonus because of the R influence. Yeah, +2 and +2. There must be a way to see that. I just don't know what it is. It seems like 25 is probably the approval limit where you start to see some bonuses. I wonder... Ooh, we acquired a skill. Did we? Plot. Minor cunning. Inspired by your leadership, this party member has gained a minor bonus to cunning. Yeah. I want to talk to her again, just to see if this opens up new options.
Yes? Something you need? Yes? What's on your mind? Of course I do. I love stories far too much to keep them to myself. Everyone should be able to benefit from them, I think.
Anything new?
Which one? It will come to you soon, I'm sure.
No. I want to see what happens if I talk to her about leaving. I have no interest in talking
Yes?
about that.
Something you need?
I just want to see where it goes. I think you should go. No, I don't. There's really no reason for me to do that. We have still Shay left. Liliana had a lot of dialogue.
I see it found some augmentation crystals. I was not even aware it knew about them. Well done. So, what does it think? They don't make me look any wider, do they? I find I'm already too wide as it is.
No, they're quite slimming.
It must be the vertical pattern it put them in. Did it know to do that? It must have. I think it should find some more as soon as possible. I want to glitter from ear to ear, so to speak.
Shale approves.
Oh.
What's with the heavy sighs?
Oh, that. Merely reflecting on the hopeless nature of the task in front of it. The most likely outcome is that it and its companions will become a stain on some rock for the Darkspawn to tread upon. I shall be moved to a single tear by the tragedy.
I don't think our chances are that so bad.
Oh, how adorable. Such hope is sweet to see, if a bit alarming. What's that? Did it hear flapping wings? There may be pigeons nearby. We should be alert.
Shale approves. Okay, this is good. It looks like we might be able to get more bonuses out of those.
Ah.
I would have expected golems to be different.
Different? Different than what? Different than a statue? Different than a log? Should I talk in a monotone? Yes, Master, I exist to serve the Master. I shall kill for the Master and only for the Master. Perhaps it expected me to have a booming voice. Recite limericks. I can recite limericks, if it likes.
Are they dirty limericks?
Mostly they involve slaughtering pigeons in creative and invasive manners. I have never met another golem. I have no idea what one might be like, or why I wouldn't be like them. Why? Has it met other golems? Did they not sound as I do?
Okay, I should know other golems. Surely I should know. They might not be common, but I already earlier mentioned that there were some in Orzammar. I have no idea what golems sound like. Okay, yeah, you just seem very animated. Yeah, there's constant little movement, like if you'd have a human body with organs and with the breathing and balancing issues. So I would expect a golem to be a bit more sturdy and lack all of that. I guess I'll go with the, yeah, curious. You seem very animated.
I don't know what other golems might be like, but I am already superior by virtue of my free will. This is a good thing.
I agree. Being a golem would be handy.
Imagine the benefits. No need to eat or sleep or perform other functions. Walk underwater, crush the heads of every opponent. The possibilities are limitless. Barring the occasional 30 years or so of paralysis, there's little to compare. Now stop talking so much. The wagging of its moist little tongue is distracting.
You're still with me, I see.
Yes, its adventures are interesting, even if the chances for success are remarkably slim. It would be better to throw oneself off a cliff, I suspect. Does it wish me to leave? I can, though I see no reason to go.
No, say, you're quite helpful.
No doubt. Without me, it would have to carry its inventory on its own. Perhaps we should continue. Its chances of success are small enough without further dawdling.
Yeah, Shale improves. Maybe we're just seeing the same message because I don't let them fade. But I think we're seeing the same. But it's 16 already, so
Ah,
we don't have to get the approval of all that much higher, and we start to see some bonuses.
it doesn't have better things to do.
Are those crystals in your skin?
I like to think of them as accessories.
What do they do?
I suspect that it is an art that was practiced when golems were more, commonplace. My former master collected whatever lore he could find on the subject. He searched far and wide to collect what crystals he could and then added them. It is not an unpleasant sensation.
It's a dwarven thing then.
So I would assume. My former master enjoyed poking around the ruins in the Deep Roads after all, and bartering with others who did. As I understand it, the crystals allow me to alter the flow of magic around me. Wilhelm had hoped to turn me into a battery of mana, something he could tap at will.
Did he succeed?
Not really, although now that I think of it, these attempts may be what caused my disruption. Some of the crystals increase the presence of mana, some absorb or reflect spells. There are various kinds. All I can promise is that should it ever find one of these crystals, I can likely tell it the function and what it would do if added to me.
Would you be willing to have more added?
Why not? I don't get to wear clothing and other adornments like the rest of you creatures, after all. That answers its question, I assume? Unless it has more.
So, you watched the village day and night for years.
I do not sleep, so yes, and I thank it for reminding me. Try to imagine, if it will, what it would be like to be surrounded by nothing but boring peasants, all oblivious to it.
Yes, that would be rather horrid.
And then there were the birds. A whole village full of pigeons and ravens and sparrows all perching on me day in and day out.
Sounds a little messy.
Those foolish villagers would spread birdseed near me, drawing the birds, because they thought having birds perch on me was quaint. Quaint! If there hadn't been the occasional kind soul to scour me clean, I don't care to discuss this anymore.
Minor strength increase. Excellent.
I've watched a lot of humans in my time. It should be aware that I've decided that it is not much like any of them.
Because I'm not human.
Oh, it's not just that. Well, I'm sure that's part of it, but it's not only that. Surely it must come from some superior lineage, yes? Some breed of flesh creature that has decided to elevate its genetic stock above its natural shortcomings?
I am a member of House Educan, in fact.
Then that must be it. My experience with dwarves is limited, but obviously I need to encounter more of them. I would appreciate if it didn't spread around that I said anything. Humans might start to get the wrong idea. They might start thinking their race is not completely hopeless.
And we wouldn't want that.
Indeed. Can it imagine the horror? Now, let us crush something into a fine paste, before it starts to think I've gone all soft. Perish the thought.
Minor bonus to strength. I don't know. What would be? Would Shale be the one who we could give gems as a reward? I mean, a gift. Although it seems to get approval at a very high rate, so maybe it's almost all dialogue based.
It speaks. It doesn't have better things to do.
Okay, we do have a few important things. How did you end up in Handliet?
Oh yes, that I remember quite well. My former master, the Mage Wilhelm, he brought me. As I recall, he had acquired some position with whatever lord ruled the land. I, being little more than a glorified possession at the time, was brought along. Oh, how he enjoyed impressing the villagers with me. Gollum snarl at that villager there, be fearsome. And of course, I would have to do it.
Do you remember anything before Handliet?
I traveled with the mage. He did a lot of traveling, I remember that. But where we went, it is rather fuzzy. I remember great battles, fighting many humans long ago. They were all very soft and squishy. And before that, No, there are only images. I was somewhere dark.
Just how old are you exactly?
I have no idea. Wilhelm used to brag that the dwarves stopped making golems centuries ago. I do not age as you soft creatures do. Sadly, my memory is no better. Plus, I get bored and stop paying attention.
You didn't like this Wilhelm, I take it.
He did love using that control rod. Fondled it so much, his wife actually threatened to throw it in the lake. Ha! I would have liked to have seen that. Which reminds me, where did it find the rod? Did it pay a great deal for it?
Wilhelm's wife sold it, I believe.
Hag.
Okay. I guess we should continue on that discussion. Scaring humans, I thought you'd enjoy doing that.
I'd have happily stomped them all into paste, and then ripped down their little houses and stomped on them, too. In fact, after 30 years of watching them, I'd do it twice. What I didn't like was being ordered to do it. Dangled in front of those frightened morons like some scary thing. Once I was a statue, it took those villagers years before they'd even approach me. The first one to actually work up the nerve to touch me urinated himself. Ugh.
Okay, why were you out in front of the tower?
That is where Wilhelm kept me. He wanted me out in the open where I could be frightening like a scarecrow. I was supposed to watch for thieves. Pah! Plus, his wife didn't want me indoors. She said there wasn't room for me. Hag.
His wife?
I was once larger, 10 feet tall. Then the loathsome hag complained that I couldn't fit through the doors. So the mage had me shrunk down. Can it believe it? And she still wanted me out.
How does someone shrink a golem?
With a chisel. And a lot of nerve. Good. I was just about done talking about it. It does like to have a good chat now and again, doesn't it?
We still have one issue to discuss, and I think that's the death of his former master.
It speaks. It doesn't have better things to do.
I'm told you killed your former master.
Oh, how interesting. Certainly I remember having a master. My memories of what happened to him, are vague.
Vague, but not non-existent.
Clever and true. Oh, very well. Let me see what I can recall. My former master enjoyed experimenting upon me. I remember that much. There was tinkering with spells, and then the crystals. He was very eager to alter my function, I think.
Okay, let's try to ego stroke a little bit. Alter you? Why, you're fine as you are.
Flattery, and obvious flattery too. I feel warm and fuzzy inside. He possessed my control rod, and back then, it would have prevented me from doing anything he did not command me to, no matter how I might have wished to. So what happened? I am unsure. He was experimenting, and then nothing.
What do you remember next?
And then he was gone. I was standing where I was, in the village, and I could no longer move. The villagers came, poked and prodded me in fear, and then realized they could neither move me nor destroy me, so they simply left me. And in time I forgot I hadn't stood there all along.
You didn't wonder where he'd gone.
Wonder? I was glad that he was gone. For so many years I'd had to leap to that little toadstool's every command. Get this, pick up that, put it down, pick it up again. The gall! At first I'd hoped he'd simply decided to leave me there paralyzed. An acceptable trade-off. After years passed, I simply stopped caring.
Hmm. Maybe it has something to do with your crystals. Why would it? More likely it's the mage's experiments. So it could happen again then.
Frightened by the prospect, is it? It should be. Whatever the mage did seemed to render the control rod useless, for which I should be thankful, yes? And provided it doesn't decide to copy his experiments, not that I would allow it, it is nothing to fear from me. Much.
Sounds good to me.
The things that it fights, and it fights things often, that is a different story. Let us get back to the walking and the fighting. My stone is beginning to itch again.
Okay. Shale approves. We got it to 31. Warm. Well, isn't that lovely? And I think we're definitely done with this. It takes quite a long time to go through some of these conversations. There will be new ones in there. But I think for the most part, if we want to increase our approval with some of these, something needs to happen in the game and we need to pick the correct choices. Okay. I'll try to see if the remarkable greenstones gift for Shale. I don't want to waste. This is clearly a very odd looking, exceptional gift. So if it's clearly not fit for him, I'll just load. No, Shale.
Ooh, shiny.
Yeah, plus 10, so 41 approval. Guessed correctly. Something else. I still have no idea who would get the alcohol. Some of the gems, or the jewelry, you could go to Liliana. She was complaining about the lack of finery. Tribal necklace, maybe Morrigan or Stan. I don't know. Anyway, I think we're mostly done. Might as well do the inventory management now too. Selling off few items using enchantment to
Enchantment?
enchantment.
He can fold. It's
I didn't want to
there
ask that.
you have it.
Enchantment!
Yep. Novice Dreamer Rune. Was 2% spell resistance, so basically nothing, but it's might as well put it there.
You and your friends are formidable folk, indeed. It's good to have you along on the road.
Yeah, I don't want to talk to you now.
I'm sure you'll be pleased with the goods my boy and I have collected, and with your discount.
Shit. Okay, I was supposed to compare the prices of this to anyone else. So I don't want to sell anything to him. We'll go somewhere else, find a merchant. We could go to the Capital Dinner Room, for example. Easy prices for lesser helpful to remember. 1 silver, 50 copper to buy, 25 copper to sell. I do want to get the most money out of the crap I have, so I don't want to make too bad deals. It might not be anything, but it does seem like a very poor. Okay, maybe what's the natural value of 1 silver? So 50% extra or 25%? Yeah, that's probably what it is. But yeah, we'll end for now. Next time, might as well go to not Lothering, someplace new. Denerim, just not enough. I'm not going to complete the Denerim section completely, but just to find a few shopkeepers, something so we can see what the options are in general and is the pricing identical in every place. We do have one quest at least that also takes us there, but I'm not too interested in finishing them at the moment.